Hi, I'm Uriah Duffy, bass player. I'm from Rhode Island. I currently reside in Berkeley, California. I love it there. I love the music there. I love the scenario there. It's everything is there for me. You can go out boating. You can go and tour. Have some of the best food in the world. I found that as a really great hub. It's only an hour away from LA, where, as you know, is another great musical hub. Just can't live there though. I started playing bass in I think I wanted to pick it up when I was about 3. I didn't get one until I was 9. My dad took me to a Rush show. He's taken me to a lot of shows when I was a kid, but the one that really stuck was Rush, and this was back in Rhode Island. And I remember going back home and not having a bass, but I had his guitar, and I would play on the E string on his guitar. And I didn't know the notes or anything, but I'd just figure out just on the E string, you know. And that's the line from the song Tom Sawyer. And I play it all like that on one string. A couple months later is when I got my first bass, and that was it for me. I just played to every Rush and Yes album that was in the house. That got me into it. I played for 12 hours a day. I didn't go out and play with my friends. I was just into bass because I thought it was fun. And Geddy Lee was a big inspiration to me. I just thought I was having fun. I didn't realize he was one of the best bass players around. So that's pretty much how I got my start. Yeah, after starting to play bass and going through high school, jazz band, theater groups, you know, local bands at home and stuff, doing whether it be rock, punk, jazz, it was all interesting to me because it had to do with bass. But yeah, I got a scholarship to go to the Berklee School of Music up in Boston. It was also the same year my son was born. And I decided that I wasn't really ready to go to Boston, the frozen small streets, studying music with a newborn baby. And I had been in California a lot with my mom, so I decided to move out there permanently. And that's where it really picked up for me. That's where I learned that all the Victor Wooten stuff, all the technique stuff, it was time to forget that if I wanted to keep a gig. Tower of Power was from there, Journey, Green Day, Metallica, just a lot of great bands were from there. And a lot of great soul bands, and the one that really stood out to me was Sly and the Family Stone. I played their stuff in cover bands, you know, countless times, weddings, If You Want Me to Stay. And the way I kind of see my years of playing in cover bands was it was the best education I could have gotten, I think better than Berklee, in a lot of ways. Of course, Berklee's great for a lot of theory and a lot of notes and a lot of great stuff, connections, but for me it was more experience on the street. Playing those music, studying those bass lines, studying Stevie Wonder bass lines, whether it be keyboard or on bass, Nate Watts, it was really the best training ground for me. That kind of built up to just being a bassaholic. I would play any gig for no money, $20, whatever. I still do that. And then one day, one thing led to another, and people started calling me for better gigs. I got to play with Taj Mahal. I got to do a tour opening up for Boz Scaggs with an acoustic guitar player. I got to play with Tony Furtado, who's a great slide player, banjo player. Yeah, it was just a great experience. And as that built up, I played a lot of soul and a lot of R&B and really got to feel what it's like to play bass. And, you know, every now and then you can still sneak in fills, you know, like a thief in the night, I think as Tony Levin said. And then eventually it brought me to Whitesnake. Whitesnake came out of the blue. Sly and the Family Stone, that was cool too. That was about 3 years of playing with the original members, without Sly, but with the original members. And that was really the holy grail for me, that they picked me, who wasn't even born yet, when in 1969 when they were, you know, doing Woodstock. So yeah, after playing with them, I got a call from Whitesnake, and they found me out of the blue. They found my website. They kind of liked my vibe. They liked what I could do. I think the thing that Tommy Aldridge, the drummer, said, he said, "Hey man, it's not rocket science. It's if you can feel it, you can do it. And if you fit the part and you can just kind of hang out with us and we can be a family, then it's cool." And that's what happened. And now it's, you know, 5 years later, I'm still with Whitesnake. When they tour or when they do an album, I'm still doing as much other stuff as possible. Definitely learning from greats like Geddy Lee or Stu Hamm was someone I listened to a lot when I was a kid, and then Victor Wooten, of course, and I'd followed his steps throughout his career. That was all learning the techniques. That was like getting your arsenal together. It's really great to be able to do these cool techniques. Now there's these techniques that guys are doing, all the Federa guys are using 3 fingers and 4 fingers, doing all these kind of triplet things. All that should be in your back pocket. Once you learn it, once you get it down, I mean, I feel you can train your fingers to do anything. You can do any technique. You just sit there long enough to hammer it into your fingers, you got it. But once you get it, it should be in your library. You should put it behind you. And the thing you should really learn is to play bass, to hold a groove. Think of the best bands and think of the best bass players. They hold down a groove better than anything else. And in fact, a lot of them don't solo. Lee Sklar does not solo, and he's been on thousands and thousands of albums. So he's one of my heroes. Will Lee, you don't really see him, you know, whiling out on his bass, but the way he plays is good enough. I just love his pocket and his versatility. So that's pretty much the best I could say about that. Is like, you got to put that on the back burner. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't say I've done it before. And you start sneaking in some of these licks on a gig, and that's not what people need to hear unless you're doing a gig like Tribal Tech or you're doing a flashy fusion-y gig. That's a very small percentage of gigs. But if you want to make a living, learn it all. About gear, a lot of basses, you'll see me with a lot of basses, but mostly it's Fenders or Lakelands. I've found those are real workhorse basses. It's a little harder sometimes to play a Fender. Sometimes it's not as easy as, you know, a nice, you know, $5,000 Federa to do all these techniques. But I like learning to do them on here because I can do everything with a bass like this. It's just this is a Mexican Fender jazz bass. I've customized everything on it, but essentially it's a Mexican Fender jazz. You don't need the most expensive thing to do what you need to do. I play bass on it. I play this in front of, you know, 80,000 people a couple weeks ago. I mean, I played it in front of a lot of people and it works great. The sound guys love it. In the end, it comes from your hands, but the Fender, you know, Leo Fender had the design right off the bat, and a lot of basses haven't really deviated from this fashion. I love Eden Amplification. They've been great to me. I think I've been using them about 15 years, but I'm not above trying other things too. I like to experiment and see what else is out there.